What is up, guys? Welcome back. So today's video we're going to be doing an editing challenge with some of your guys' submitted photos. If you saw the previous video, I kind of went over like some tips and tricks, some small little pointers here and there. So this video I'm going to kind of get straight to the point. So I will be using some of my presets, but I will also be making a lot of manual adjustments along the way, just because I want to make these kind of a slightly faster paced video compared to the previous ones. I think the last video was like 35 minutes and we did 2 photos from start to finish, and then the third one we did my preset and made some adjustments. So thank you guys for everyone who submitted these. I will have your Instagram, your handle posted up here. This one was by KJo Media, probably a long time ago for an Instagram live stream, but such a cool shot. I wanted to see what we can make of this one with my slightly newer, updated editing style. So with this one, since it's landscape, I like to do a 16:9 crop. Really neat shot. I don't know too much about Porsches, however you say it, but this body style is pretty clean. Loving the wheels. Really cool with the reflection here on the ground. We'll see if we can make that pop. All right, let's see if any of these jump out right away at us. Very cool, like, backdrop here. Big fan of this. This is sweet. I don't know why this gives me like some type of like mafia boss type vibe, but here we go. Let's bring up the exposure. Already, like, that's a massive, oh, I hate when it does that, massive improvement in my opinion, but still not where we need it to be. Looks a little green. Exposure wise, not too shabby there. See, this is going to be tricky because of all the blues. There's a lot going on here with the colors. Let's fix these. There we go. Blues, definitely don't want to desaturate those that much at all. Luminance, we're going to want to keep those. Honestly, we might even want to bump these up just a tad. Livens up the image just a bit. That looks good. We'll do -10. That looks good. Highlights here. I don't really want to use too much of this because I'm really digging kind of this cooler feel. Let's bump this up and see how that looks. Very nice. Good there, good there. All right. See, typically I like to go for a warmer image, but something about this one just looks really good being on the cooler side. I'm gonna leave that. There's virtually like no greens in this image, so I don't think we're gonna see much change. Ooh, I'm not gonna lie. I think that's good. Blues, I'm not even gonna mess with because there's way too much blues going on. So typically for this image right away, I'm looking at the bricks and I like this oranger, but if you notice, it also, I believe, might be affecting the side marker or the reflector a little bit. Is it? I guess it's really not. Let's see the switch shot f7.1, which explains why everything's sharpened in focus. 20mm. Cool, cool, cool. So right off the bat, let's show a comparison. That's looking pretty baller. So I want to put a little bit more effort into this because this is a little too dark. So what we'll do here is we can just do like a 0.6 exposure with the radial filter. Let's see if we can. That's better. That's looking good. And then another thing I noticed right off the bat is the fact that this front wheel is a lot darker than this back wheel. The sun does appear to be coming from the top right of this image, which would explain why this is brighter and this is darker. So we could just go in again with the radial filter. The radial filter is probably one of your best friends when it comes to Lightroom, at least for my workflow, because usually I would use the adjustment brush, but this just looks a lot more natural in my opinion. So, I mean, that right there is definitely post-worthy. I might bump this up a little bit in exposure here. Actually, let's just raise the shadows a tad on that. Boom. That looks pretty darn good to me. Actually, that might be a little too bright. There we go. Now, I would typically use a radial filter on the windows and try to bring down the shadows, but those reflections are pretty harsh. There's really not much you can do in this scenario because I'm assuming that these buildings are also right behind her as she's taking the photo, so that's what's reflecting on here. You can also see her reflection. I mean, you could go in here. Typically, I'd go into Photoshop for this, but for shits and giggles, let's see. Ha! There we go. So for those that don't know, I don't even know what this tool is called. The spot removal, you can go in here, and just like that, we used it under healing. You could do clone healing. It kind of like analyzes the area and tries to match it. Whereas if you do clone, it is exactly wherever you drag this little dot thing. So it'll just completely copy it. So that worked out. That saves me a lot of time than going to Photoshop. Granted, sometimes you have to go to Photoshop. That tool's not the best, but in small situations like that, makes a big difference. So I would say for the sake of this video, that's good. I like that a lot. Again, we'll show another before and after. Super, super cool shot. Yeah, big fan. We'll run with that one. Killer shot. Now this is one that really stood out because this one, I forgot, I'll put them up on the screen, but whoever took this picture, I'm a huge fan because they exposed for the sky. So it's going to be pretty easy to maintain a lot of the details in the sky, but as you guys can see, I mean, it is dark. I mean, there is not a lot there. This was shot at 17 millimeters at f2.8. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this was the Tamron 17 to 28 f2.8. Reason being is I own that lens and there's not many people that shoot at 17 mils. If they had a 16 to 35, they'd probably be shooting at 16. But nonetheless, let's see what we can do with this. I think this one will turn out actually pretty badass. This one will probably be more of a, ooh, that's not bad. I think we're gonna go for a warmer feel on this. So I don't know if the car, oh, we're gonna get a lot of noise. This was shot at ISO 400, which honestly there shouldn't be too much. But any of these standing out? So as we zoom in, holy moly. Wow, okay. Loving the colors, but right off the bat, that noise is unacceptable. So let's bring down the sharpening here because that's not helping matters at all. Do some noise reduction. Typically, I really don't like to do this because it kind of it like numbs the photo. It just kind of takes away the sharpness. You can see it's kind of muddy. So we'll go back and show you what it looks like without it. So you definitely lose a lot of detail, but there is a lot of noise. What camera was this shot with? Oh, okay. The Sigma 17 to 50 f2. I'm not familiar with that. I'm gonna say that's probably a crop sensor lens, maybe. Huh. So because of this, we're gonna keep this more on the moody side. I can't believe it has that much noise. I mean, we really haven't pushed this image all that far. I mean, I would understand if the exposure was up like 1.5, but holy cow, that's a lot of noise. Even like in the dirt and mud here, there's noise. Oh, damn. Okay. What was going to end up being my favorite photo, I thought, is now becoming the most challenging. So this will be interesting. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to keep this one definitely on the moody side. Yeah, oh my god. That's nuts. I'm sorry, this is not informative at all, but that is crazy. I can't believe there's that much noise. I'm kind of bummed. I thought I'd have a lot more to work with on this one. Now, this would be a really good candidate for someone that was doing like a film grain kind of style photo. Like you put a filter over it. So we'll try to fix the noise a little bit, but there's just not much I'm going to be able to do. I mean, that was pretty horrendous. You know, cool shot nonetheless. So I guess this is a perfect example of you maybe don't want to totally 1000% overexpose, or yeah, just expose for the sky, especially when it's this like dark. This is probably like dusk, as you guys can see the sun's about to be down. But I'm a little stumped on this one, guys. Usually I could find a workaround, but this one is giving me quite the problem. Yeah, it just looks, I mean, the color noise is completely like distorting the whole side of the car. I didn't even check, is it? I mean, there's even noise in the original image. Yeah, this photo, like, if I took this, unfortunately, this would be like a chalked candidate. I mean, it's just way too noisy. I don't know what camera you're using, but even at ISO 400, it should not be having that much noise. What was your shutter speed? What? Oh, okay. So I don't think you should have your shutter speed should be way lower and your ISO should be at 100. So shooting a 17mm, my general rule of thumb is you always want to have your shutter speed double what it is. So you could have shot at like 1/40th or 1/35th, and it probably would have been still super sharp, and your ISO would have been way further down. I mean, honestly, you probably would have been fine even at like 1/100th, and your ISO would have been at 100, and you would have little to no. Oh my god, I'm spacing like grain. So yeah, just a learning lesson. There's just a ton of noise, and it's color noise. You guys can see it's like blue and yellow and kind of, I don't know if it's going to translate very well, but it's almost like a pinkish red. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to like pass on this one. This still looks good. I would, like I said, throw a grainy filter on it and put it in like on a story post or whatnot, or if that's kind of your aesthetic, stick with it. But super cool sunset. It's absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, you could probably copy this and use it for like a sky replacement down the road. But yeah, cool car, awesome location, beautiful sunset. It's just maybe try and work with those settings a little bit more. Maybe this was shot in like an auto mode, like a shutter priority, or I'm sorry, an aperture priority, and that's why for some reason the camera decided to do an ISO 400 and your shutter speed being that high. Always try to keep your ISO as low as possible. Almost every shot I take is at 100. Even at night, I will just go handheld and keep it at a reasonable, I'll always keep it at 100, maybe like 250 tops. So this was sent in by my buddy Alex. Look at those chromatic aberrations, oh boy, but super cool shot. This is, I believe, the Gen 3 R8, or is it Gen 2? I don't remember, I think it's the Gen 3. I should know because I shot one when it first came out, but very nice photo here. He did a really cool edit on his page. You guys have to go check that out on his Instagram. All right, we're done. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see here. Very pink in this photo, so we're gonna go in and play with that a little bit. But again, I think the warmer feel is gonna be, ooh, I don't know. Kind of liking the cooler. Damn, see these videos? They're putting me through a loop because a lot of the times I go warmer, but now with your guys' photos, cooler tends to look pretty darn good too. I think we'll stick with that. Now, I think this is a white car if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is white. Okay, so we got to fix that. Almost looks kind of like a chalkish gray right now. Probably because we have the highlights absolutely annihilated. So another thing that I know he does is he typically will shoot and try to expose for like a happy medium between the car and the sky. So this is a very nice shot. Let's see. You're shooting at 51.4. Oh yeah. So Alex is one of the reasons that I got the Sigma, the 51.4, because he had the 35 1.4 and swore by it being amazing. I had the 35 1.4 and I love the 50. I had the Sony 1.8. But this Sigma 51.4 is absolutely nuts. If you guys haven't, go check out my review video on the gear. It shows you guys all the lenses I have, what I'm using on a day-to-day basis. Then sorry if you guys could hear my computer like hissing in the background. I don't know why this thing's even remotely struggling right now with the screen recording. So with these sliders, it's always just a matter of playing with them and seeing what looks good. Definitely not a fan of that. Since it's fall, we'll go with a little bit more of a festive color palette. And I always just bump up the saturation a little bit. Let's check a little before and after. God, I don't know why it always does that. I don't know if you guys have the same thing, but that is coming together nicely. So this reminds me of the Audi, the set I did, or the edit I did, where on the windscreen it had a lot of like chromatic aberration or haze, like it's very purple. I don't know if it's because of the like CPL, but like we did in that video, we'll drop the shadows a little bit, drop the saturation, and we'll probably warm up that right here. And let's see how this looks. It looks kind of fake. See, you want to find, again, I feel like I'm a broken record here, but repetition is key. So you want to find a happy medium. You don't want it to be muted, but you don't want all that color to be showing through. So it's all a matter of just messing around here with the sliders. See, it's very blue on that side, but it's kind of muted on that side. So this might be one of those where we're going with an adjustment brush, because then we could really kind of even it out. Or what we could do is we could do another one right here, and we'll just warm this up. Let's see what 14 looks like. Put this right over the blue area, desaturate this, drop the shadows as well. All right, I'm cool with that for now. That works. Big fan. So lots of detail here. Still lots of chromatic aberrations popping through. I thought we had that selected, so we do. But in instances like this, you could go in with the adjustment brush. So for this, go over here and we'll just drop the saturation down quite a bit, and we can just go right over this logo. Now you want to be careful because you don't want to touch this, because the R8 logo or any of the S and R series Audis will have the red, so that is good. I almost think that these wheels are a little overexposed, maybe. I don't know. Like, that's where my eyes go right away. So what we'll do is we'll just drop the shadows to like, ooh, meant to do negative. We'll do 10. I lied. -5. There we go. Looks a little bit more realistic in my opinion. I mean, that's looking pretty darn good. Then we can go in here with the clone tool. Boop. Go. I would probably go into Photoshop and try to remove this. Again, for the sake of the video and the time, I don't want to do all that. But this car is looking really good. It almost still kind of has a bluish hue to it. So what you could do is we could go in here. I'm probably not going to do this just because I don't want to make this video 50 minutes long. We could go in here with the adjustment brush, touch it up. We could honestly probably warm it up even a little bit to make it look more of like a natural white. I used to do this all the time when I shot white cars, just because it gives a little bit of extra pop and flair. So boom, that was really terrible. Again, this is just an example. Now this doesn't work all the time. Again, typically I always try to adjust the white balance so that way the car is perfectly white. I've had a lot of people say that they like recognize my whites on cars, which is interesting. I guess I didn't know mine stood out in that respect. Here we gotta go in 1:1. But let me know in the comments, guys, like, what do you want to see video-wise for editing? I have a whole slew of video ideas, but at the same time, I don't want to burn you guys out. I want you guys to enjoy the content. Oh, and we hit 500. We are over 500 now, which is freaking awesome. I'm not sure which day this one's dropping on. I'm thinking of doing like editing videos every Wednesday, or at least anything photography related every Wednesday. That way, because I have a lot of people from my Instagram that are subscribed that are here for like the photography and editing content, but then I also have quite a few that are here for like the Mustang content. So let me know what you guys want to see, because I really You know, the whole point of this channel is really to help you guys out and make content that you guys enjoy. I don't really care about the money or any of that shit. Like, I'd rather just help people out. And also, if you're shy and you don't want to like comment on here, you could always message me on Instagram. It's just at Top Quality Photography, no spaces, no, just spelled completely the way it's supposed to be. So you can reach out to me there privately. I typically respond very quickly. And just ask away, guys. Like, there's no harm. Don't be shy. I don't bite unless you piss me off. Just kidding. But nah, for real. I love to help people out. There's a misconception that I don't, but I do. So here we go. Typically I do the roof, but again, boom. Okay, let's go. All right, that's a winner. I'd post it all day long. Alex, you killed it. Freaking awesome shot. Love it, love it, love it. Sharp. Keep killing it, my dude. Last but not least, we got this shot here. I believe this is by Nicholas or Nick. Kind of a cool little shot, portrait shot on the bike. I don't really ever do portrait shots or stuff like this, so we'll see how this comes out. Okay, so this is tricky because up here you guys can see it's kind of like an orangish brown, but it's also going to somewhat have conflict with his skin tones. So we're gonna have to mess around here a good bit to make sure we get this right, because I would prefer to have his skin tones looking correct rather than like have this look perfect and then he looks green or orange or whatever it may be. So let's go down here to the orange tab and let's see, we can adjust that. We can pull that a little bit more towards yellow. Yeah, see, then it starts to look kind of like green-ish. What we can do is cool down the photo just a tad. It really didn't do much. Let's see if yellows have more of an effect. So without seeing this gentleman in person, it's kind of difficult to say whether or not that's his natural skin tones. Let's see if we can drop this even more. I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes, that's pretty close. This was shot at f1.7 at 20 millimeters, ISO 200 and shutter speed. Okay, fair enough. That works. Probably could have kept it at ISO 100, but honestly, ISO 200, I don't see any noise here and it's still sharp. So nice job on that. The blue jean hoodie jacket type thing. Let's bring the blues back here. You guys will notice on some of these presets, I do have it pretty wiped out. It just depends on whatever this preset was for. Again, typically I always try to mess with my colors, or I try to work with them rather than remove them. Again, that's everyone's personal preference. If you prefer just to get rid of them, you know, you do you, boo-boo. More power to you. So if we mess with the yellows, it's really not doing anything with his skin tones. So we'll do that. There we go. So that's pretty decent right there. And shout out to the people that do portraits. Portraits are a totally different game, man. I've done like a couple for like friends just for shits and giggles. And it's a very challenging thing. I had no clue how difficult it could be because skin tones are just an absolute animal to master. I get why like people charge a lot of money for weddings and whatnot. I don't know if I'd ever be up for that, just the amount of stress. This is looking very nice. Let's bring up the shadows even more. Ooh, too much. Whites. So back here is going to be blown out. Typically with portraits, at least in my experiences, you don't worry too much about the background. So for me, you always want to expose properly for skin tones and like facial features and whatnot. So for the sake of this video, or for the sake of this photo, we're just going to keep going. That looks pretty decent. Let's get the exposure. I don't know why I'd have the exposure down. That must have been whenever I overexposed on accident. So we got a little bit of noise just because there's so much contrast between the black helmet and the background. But this is looking pretty decent. Crop wise, since it's portrait, we kept it as a 4x5 for Instagram. You can try straightening this out a little bit, but it's never going to be straight just because with the parking garages, everything is slanted. But this is decent. Let's see if we can get I'm a fan of that. I think we'll mess with the colors a little bit more. I think we can make this look a little bit more. See, I'm liking that. That looks good. Let's see now. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty decent. I don't know, I'm kind of liking how this has a slightly more like magenta or pink feel to it, so maybe I'll mess around with that a tad. But I think we got the skin tones pretty darn close. The jacket is pretty similar, just a little bit more blue. Everything on the bike, all the details, like everything looks correct. We didn't mess with the green, so this doesn't look desaturated. You always want to be careful of any decals or graphics on the vehicle, because when you're messing with the colors for the background and the foliage, you can mess with whatever is on the bike. So as you can see, we have the greens here completely left neutral, so that is good to go. So for fun, let's go 15 here. That looks good. Let's try 20. 20 is probably going to be too much. Kind of works. I like 15 better. So there we go. That is that. That looks pretty good. I like that a lot. Definitely a good profile picture. What we could do also is put radial filter here on the mask or the helmet. Just make it pop a little bit more. Yeah. It looks good. I'd post it. Or I mean, I'd use it as a profile picture. Or if this was my photo, I'd probably post it. So yeah, guys, I'm probably going to leave it at that. Let me see if I have any pictures I can edit for you guys quick. Because I want to do some of my photos too. Honestly, no, I'm going to leave it at that. So thank you guys that submitted. I have several more photos to go through. So I think I'm going to do this video once a week, where you guys just submit them and I edit them. Again, by no means is my way the right way. This is just my preference of how I would edit these photos. If you guys are pleased with your work, honestly, that's all that matters. Photography isn't a competition. It's all about you enjoying your work and making sure your clients enjoy it as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, thank you so much for 500 subscribers. That's freaking awesome. We're cruising. The next goal is going to be like 750. So if we can hit that by the end of the year, I know it's probably a stretch, but hey, gotta have some, strong ambitions here. We're gonna manifest that into, reality. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later, guys.
10 toes touchdown, that's real talk. I've been really heating up and yeah, I'm still hot. I don't never get the feels, but she real hot. I might pull up in the whip and let her peel off. Got a skirt for the money, I don't know about you. Where the kid cutting on the man on the moon. I'm still getting bloody, but I'm fighting right through. Give a fuck if y'all love me, gotta bust my moves. I'm still with the 6-1 Nina, but I'm tryna put cash on a Visa.